Hi guys, welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you are new. My name is Haley and I make content all about life with multiple chronic illnesses, and alongside those chronic illnesses I also have anxiety and I've struggled with depression, and as you can tell by the title of this video, I'm going to be sharing my experience and journey taking Zoloft, and I'll share if I had any side effects when starting it, what led up to me choosing it, why I ultimately chose to start taking Zoloft, and am I still on it? Has it helped? Has it not helped? We will get all into that. But before we get into the video, I do want to go ahead and make a quick disclaimer. This is not medical advice. I am not a medical professional. If you are debating going on Zoloft, definitely talk about it in detail with your doctor or your psychiatrist or someone you trust. And me sharing about my experience with Zoloft is my experience and my experience alone. I just wanted to make that quick disclaimer, and now we can head straight into the video. So I have been on Zoloft for my anxiety for a year. I started it in October of 2021. And here we are, and I'm filming this literally the last day of November, and I am still on it. I started off at half the dose I'm now, and then after a week I increased it to the dose I currently take, and that dose has been the same dose for the past year. But before I get into the nitty-gritty with Zoloft and my experiences with Zoloft itself, I do want to provide some context on what led me to choose to start taking Zoloft. So I'm not going to get into it. I'm not really going to expand or explain. I'm just gonna say it. But in 2016, I almost died. And obviously that was very, very traumatic. And I came out of 2016 with the diagnosis of social anxiety, mild to moderate depression, and PTSD, which my PTSD has now been revised to CPTSD, which is complex post-traumatic stress disorder, which is when there's an ongoing or reoccurring trauma, and in my case, my reoccurring trauma is medical trauma. So that's how I came out of 2016, and I did start therapy in 2016, and it has been something I've kept up with, and something that I've been doing on and off for the past 6 years, since 2016. And in 2017, I have the notes on my phone right here. But in 2017, which was the next year, I ended up also being diagnosed with generalized anxiety disorder. So really had just a great mash of diagnoses that made my life, not my life, but made my brain not very happy. So to kind of expand a little bit on therapy has been something that has really, really helped me. And as a side note, I highly suggest wherever you are with your mental health, whether you don't have any mental health struggles or you do, I highly recommend therapy. It is something that has tremendously helped me. It's really nice to have an unbiased third party who can call me out when I need to be called out, but also help me work through trauma, help me work through anxiety, help me work through depression. And if I'm being completely honest, if it wasn't for therapy, I don't know if I would be here today. So even if you are on medication, I still highly recommend therapy. It's something that is so beneficial, and if you're able to do it, I highly recommend you go ahead and do it and take that leap. It can take a little bit to find a therapist that you jive with, but when that happens, you'll know, and it will be something really good for you. So I definitely encourage any of you watching this who have been on the fence about therapy to just reach out and take that leap and just try one appointment and see how it goes. But in therapy, it was talk therapy, and for me, it was talk therapy, talking through my emotions, and then cognitive behavioral therapy, which you can research that on its own. So that's what I had been doing since 2016, and I was going pretty consistently to therapy from 2016 to the beginning of 2019, end of 2018, and then life just got crazy and I felt like it didn't need therapy consistently, so I stopped going. But I would honestly, if I'm being honest, looking back, my mental health wasn't super great in 2019. And 2020 was 2020. It was a dumpster fire of a year. I don't count that year. in terms of thinking how my mental health was, because I think we can all collectively agree as the world globally, we were all struggling really, 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 really hard. But 2020 was definitely awful and really hard. But 2021 was by far probably one of the worst years I have had with my mental health, because I just was so constantly anxious that I couldn't use any coping skills. I couldn't do any mental exercises. I wasn't sleeping. I didn't want to go out of the house, but I didn't want to stay in the house because something bad was going to happen if either happened. I didn't want my family going and leaving the house, but I didn't want them staying, because what if there was a house fire and I would only have to worry about myself to get out. And my anxiety just built and built and built and just became this overwhelming grip on me and my brain, and I was constantly irritable and grumpy and short-tempered and constantly angry, and there wasn't an underlying problem for being angry. It wasn't like anything in my life had happened to trigger that. I was just so anxious that I was so angry, and at the switch, what's the saying? Flip of a switch, I would just not be a nice person, and I was having mood swings, and I was miserable, and I was dealing with a little bit of depression too in 2021. And I finally reached a point where I was like, I can't do this anymore. I need to do something. I need to change something, because this is just not working any longer. So after a lot of thinking about it and fully researching it and watching videos, actually like these kind of videos, I was like, I'm going to try it. Worst case, it's awful and I can go off of it, but I need to try it. Something needs to change. I need to be able to live my life. And so I originally was going to seek out a psychiatrist and schedule an appointment, but I did have an appointment with my doctor, and in talking to him and me talking about how I wanted to start Zoloft, which he was like, I've been trying to get you to take it for like 2 years, which he's been seeing me since I was very little, so he definitely, like, that doesn't offend me. Like, he just tells me how it is. And because he has a lot of experience with mitochondrial disease and some of his patients being on Zoloft, he felt comfortable to be the one prescribing me Zoloft, but that is something that's not typical. Usually it is a psychiatrist who prescribes something like Zoloft. And one of the medications I'm on technically isn't compatible with Zoloft, and so it has to be closely monitored. So that was another reason as well that he wanted to be the one prescribing it for me, which I'm not going to get into. Like, I'm fine. Like, it's all settled and figured out with my other medication, and it's not a problem, and it hasn't caused me a problem. But that's kind of the main reason why he wanted to be the one overseeing it. So I started Zoloft in October of 2021. And I was expecting, because with the research I had done and listening to people's experiences, I was like, okay, it's probably going to take a couple weeks or a month to really feel any sort of difference. I kid you not, 48 hours after starting taking Zoloft, I felt a difference. Like, the edge of my anxiety was gone. I still had anxiety. I was still dealing with intrusive thoughts and anxiety-ridden thoughts, but the edge was off. And I didn't realize how anxious I truly was until I felt that relief when I started taking Zoloft. And hi guys, sorry, my dog decided to start choking. She's fine. She was just choking on a toy. She's good. It's fine. Just hit her gag reflex. But let's see if I can remember where I was. Let me look at my notes. Maybe that will help me remember. Oh, that's right. So anyways, I noticed a difference within the first 48 hours, which I was not expecting. And as time went on and as the weeks went on, I noticed that little by little, more by more of my anxiety was subsiding, and I stopped feeling that constant anger feeling, and thankfully I haven't dealt with it since before I started taking Zoloft. There have definitely been moments where it's sort of come back, just not in full force, and I'm really grateful for how Zoloft has helped me. And that's why I'm still on it, is because it really has stabilized my mood and my anxiety and made me way less irritable. And I'm able to use my coping skills. I'm able to think a lot more logically and not necessarily on an anxiety-ridden level. And that's really nice. But I do just want to add that just because I'm on Zoloft and there's so much good that has come from it, that does not mean I still don't deal with anxiety or anxiety attacks or panic attacks or anything like that, because I still do, because no medication is ever a cure, especially something like Zoloft. And while it does take a huge part of my anxiety away, it doesn't take it all away. So I still have times and weeks or days where I am just having a really difficult time and where I'm anxious, but that's just kind of how it is, and I'm okay with that because I still have a substantially less amount of anxiety than I would if I was off Zoloft. So kind of leading to the next thing is, why did it take me so long to get on Zoloft? Which I kind of said earlier, but I was just really scared and nervous about all the what ifs. What if I become suicidal? What if this changes how I am? What if this does nothing but make it worse? What if this makes me physically feel worse? And like I said, I reached a point where I needed to change something, and I was just like, I need to stop with the what ifs. And that's what I did, and I'm glad I finally chose to do that, because I feel like I'm a much better person. I am more myself, and I can actually think and feel and not just be constantly irritable and anxious and miserable all the time. So I honestly wish I had started taking it sooner, but I did have to get to a point of acceptance and accepting that it's something I need to try and need to stay on. So yes. And now, what time of day do I take it? So I was reading some tips of people online with their experiences, and they said to take it at night just because sometimes for some people it can make them drowsy or tired, and for me, I chose to start taking it at night for that reason. And I also knew that if I had like any bad side effects, I would probably sleep through them, honestly. But yeah, so I take it at night every night. And now for any side effects, have I had any side effects with Zoloft? Yes, one. And I kid you not, it lasted for 1 day. And it was the most weird thing. It was a lower back muscle spasm. And it hurt so bad, and I was like, if this continues, I can't do it. But then the next day I was fine. So I don't know if that's fully due to Zoloft, or if it was just my body coincidentally being really annoying at the same time the day after I took it. But that is the only side effect I had, and I haven't felt more tired. Starting Zoloft actually gave me more energy, and I do think it's because I spend so much less time and energy with all of my anxious thoughts mentally. I'm reading my notes because I put a few questions for myself to answer. And how long will I be on it? I don't know. Time will tell if it's something I'm on indefinitely or something I can wean off in the future. I mean, I would like it to be something I can wean off of, but I also know that's not necessarily automatically the case. Oh, and I forgot to mention, Zoloft helped take that mild depression off the table that I was dealing with last year, which is really nice, and I'm grateful. But yeah, overall, my experience with Zoloft has been very positive, and that's not something I expected to happen but it's something I'm immensely grateful for, and I know it's not the case for everyone. But that basically summarizes my experience with taking Zoloft over the past year. Hi guys, what is with the interruptions in today's video? Anyway, sorry about that, but apparently the rest of the outro footage just doesn't exist on my camera, so sorry about that, but I wanted to thank you so much for watching this. Don't forget to like it so more people will see it, subscribe down below, and I will see you guys tomorrow in my next Vlogmas video.